Hello, and welcome back to the Paranormal Podcast. I'm Dan Pasella, co-founder, lead investigator, Orange County, New York Paranormal. You can find this podcast anywhere that you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. It'll be on our Facebook page. And you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, or you can check out our website, www.orangecountanyparanormal.com. So first things first, we're back. It has been a while. This is our first podcast episode in almost 2 years, and it has been a minute, I agree. And it was a decision that we made to come back to the podcast, and today's episode is going to be about that journey. As I've always said before, and if you're new to the festivities, there are about 30 episodes prior to this one. I urge you to listen to them. As I said before, you can get them anywhere you get your podcasts. But to those of you who had been subscribed and stayed subscribed and are probably a little bit surprised to get a notification that there is a new one, thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for keeping us in that folder and in that part of your life, because it's been a bit of a journey. And one of the things I've always said in those previous episodes is that this is not something we started to be inwardly focused. This is not a podcast about us. It's a podcast about the paranormal field. It's a podcast about investigation. It's a podcast about our thoughts about investigating, talking to people in the paranormal world that we've come across that were interesting, that had stories to be told. It was never meant to be just me sitting in front of a microphone talking about Orange County, New York paranormal. But much like when a child comes home 2 hours after curfew, when it's been 18 months since our last one and we're a smidgen late, it warrants an explanation. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, and also some of the things that we've learned and that we've taken with us over the last 18 months as we not only get back into the podcasting part of what we do, but we get back into the investigation part of what we do, because this was not the only thing that we didn't do as much. We, as an organization, pretty much withdrew for a little while there. And I want to talk about why that happens, because it's not anything that happens to us. We're one of 10,000 people doing this. Anything that happens to us, even in the paranormal field or out of the paranormal field, everybody can relate to the kind of things that we're going to talk about here today. At the heart of it, where it really starts, is the idea of loss and of losing the passion for a lot of what it is that we're not only doing here, but doing in a lot of parts of our lives. And it can happen to anyone. Every one of you has probably had this happen at some point, where you've had a string of things that occur within either your whole life or a section of your life that cause you to lose passion and back off of whatever it is, whether that be work, family, fun, hobbies, whatever. It happens to everyone. And even before our hiatus, it'd been about 2 straight years of just losing in the paranormal world for us, and then losing within our own selves, which everybody can relate to, that just bogged us down and just caused us to really lose our passion for the entire field of the paranormal, for investigation, and just sort of lose the drive to do that. And it's taken us some time, as it does, to get back to where we feel like, you know what, let's dive back into this again. And I'll talk about what it is, the losses that occurred inside the paranormal world, some of the ideas outside the paranormal world that have kind of changed how we're going to look at what we do, and in the end, what's bringing us back. So stay tuned. That's what we're going to talk about today. So starting off from a strictly paranormal side, our own paranormal world, our Orange County Paranormal New York lens, we went on a losing streak that was just unprecedented in our time of doing this. If you don't know our backstory, you know, my wife Emily and I are the lead investigators, co-founders, and we started out by just going to ghost hunt events, and then about 8 years ago said, you know what, let's just do this ourselves, because it's something we enjoy doing together. And we bought equipment, we started investigating places solo, and it sort of morphed into what then became Orange County, New York Paranormal, and our YouTube channel, where we publish all of our videos and our Facebook page where we update all this stuff. We wanted to share the entire journey. It was something that we've done together, that we've loved doing together. And we've met amazing, amazing people along the way that you've seen in our videos. Some people we knew before. Our parents have been involved in this. To our friends, Aaron and Pedro early on, to friends we met along the way, Tim and Tracy from Grapevine Farms, Margot and Rhea from Lyons, New York. People we've become friends with, even when we're not doing this. That journey was amazing. And, we were kind of due because the amount of luck and good fortune in the paranormal world, and in all the worlds actually, that we've enjoyed, has been a blessing. It really has been. But about, I would say, right around the turn of 2025, things started to really just kind of take a turn. And what was going on is from 24 to 25, we started losing locations. We started losing opportunities. We started losing partnerships. We started losing things and it wasn't through anything. They didn't do anything wrong. We didn't do anything wrong. It was just people move on. And the best part of being a paranormal investigator, I've said this many, many times, is the people you meet along the way, the living people you meet along the way. You meet some awesome non-living folks too, but the friends we've made along the way, and it becomes a real people kind of thing. Like Emily, my wife and co-founder, who is the one who scouts locations, talks to people, kind of gets us everywhere we go. She builds very strong relationships with the people who run these organizations and these partnerships that we form, but sometimes those people move on. And when they move on, a lot of times the location will bring somebody in who either doesn't want to do it anymore, wants to go in a different direction, or for whatever reason is like, what, it's been great working with you guys, but nothing personal. We're just going to move on. And that kind of started happening. Hyde Hall, with whom we've just had an amazing 5-year relationship with, volunteering to help them, they decided to move on completely from the whole paranormal thing. They stopped. They told us they weren't going to be doing they're still going to do the ghost tour events in October. They weren't going to focus on what we do. They kind of wanted to just move on from that, which is perfectly okay. And right around the same time, if you see our YouTube channel, you'll see we did a lot of investigations. Seneca Falls Historical Society, the people that had us in and loved for us to do events and all that, they moved on. They went to other places, as will happen. And they're great people still. Emily still keeps in contact. But it's, so now we're not going there. And it was a chain reaction of this happening in a lot of different places. And man, you work so hard to get those. Anybody out there who does what we do will tell you that it can be very difficult to procure a location, like a solo location for you, where you investigate for them. And then sometimes a lot of those places also have us do fundraising events, and those are awesome. And when that starts dropping off, you realize, oh my goodness, it's going to take. Those relationships take years to build and even longer to find. And when you lose them, you're like, oh, we got to start from square one. And then with so many happening back to back, it's enough to kind of make you go, oh. And I understand in the broader sense of the world today, this is not a major catastrophe. I'm just talking about from within our lens, within the paranormal world. Those are things that can really get you. Among the other things were locations that, for whatever reason, we filmed an investigation, created content for it, and then for one reason or another at the last minute we were told that we couldn't publish it. Whether it had to do with real estate, or whether it had to do with ownership versus management, whatever it was, but there were about 3 or 4, and this is all happening simultaneously. And the amount of work that goes into doing an investigation, reviewing the evidence, which is something we do for every investigation, but the amount of time it takes to create and publish those videos that are on our YouTube channel, I mean, each one of those videos takes, 20 to 30 hours to make. And when you make 3 or 4 of them and all of a sudden you're told you can't publish them, again, it's just another thing that's like, man, that was so much work. And now, obviously we're glad to be able to help the people we helped, but at the same time, I spent 40 hours making a video when I could have been doing something else. We could have been doing another investigation. We could have been doing anything else to try and get some more stuff out there. Because one of the things, we love to share the journey. It's very important to us. And when you investigate a location, the location owns whatever you shoot. And it's not yours. So if they tell you you can't publish it, you can't publish it. And but this happening all at the same time. So for the paranormal lens, it's just draining of your enthusiasm when you have locations that you love, people that you love within those locations, and they move on, and therefore the location moves on. And now you have to start from scratch. And in a lot of ways, we are starting from scratch. We've lost a lot of really solid connections and people, and a lot of the locations that we came to know and love have moved on. And it's their right to do so. And it's not like they moved on to other paranormal groups. They just moved on from doing it as a whole. So that right there, again, from the paranormal lens, is enough to just make you go, oh my goodness, all that time, all that work, and to establish ourselves, and now we got to do it again. And that can be really, really draining. On a personal side of it, over the last 18 months, we have lost some people who were very close to us. Family members, people who were extremely influential in our lives. People that just, the kind of people that leave an imprint on you from the time that you're a baby, and now that I'm in my mid-40s, that's a very long time. And over the last 18 months, there's been a lot of really heavy blows to that, and everybody has that. I completely get it. Everybody has this happening. We are very blessed to have the good fortune we have, but death is a thing. But death, your perception on death is very different when you do this, because when you have people who are family members and who are extremely close to you, it attaches. There's an emotion that comes with death there that you don't normally associate with death when you investigate the way we investigate. We take an extremely scientific approach to communicating with the dead. Therefore, I mostly do not attach any emotion to it. That's what Emily does. That's what a lot of our rest of our, they are the ones who feel it. I'm the one who points the camera and analyzes it. And it has to be that way. There has to be a separation to do a true paranormal investigation. Our style, that scientific method, equipment-based investigation, demands it. It's the only way you can do that style of investigation. Psychics are different. Emotional connection is the point of psychic and psychic investigations. But it's that style is the enemy of our style. That's why actually the two groups, when we do work with people and find people we work well with who are psychic, it works really well because we're looking at two completely different sides of it. That's why it should work way better than it does. I'm going to do a whole episode on that at some point. But that emotion is the enemy of our style of investigation. And it's like I said, I'm the one person. There has to be I think that when you are using equipment mainly, there has to be one person at least in a group of investigators who does not get emotionally connected to any of it. For us, that's me. That's me. The other members in the team can, and honestly, sometimes they need to. If you have a mixed group where it's a couple of people have the psychic abilities and you have people like me or science, it's perfect. You have it designated really, really well. But there has to be an independent arbiter. There has to be. And if you want to do a good investigation in our style, you have to have it. And it's always been me, like I said. And I've gotten really good at it. And to a point that I'm concerned that I've actually gotten too good at it. I'm not an emotional person. And as I get older, I become less and less emotional. And in my opinion, that's a really good quality in a paranormal investigator. I think if you have listened to previous episodes, I'm hard on the TV shows for a lot of reasons, a lot of very good reasons, I feel. But it's the amount of emotion they show that I find completely to be dramatized, because in order to do this right, you have to be you have to keep your emotions in check. You can be afraid, you can be uncomfortable, you can be all of those things. You just have to not let it take control. That being emotional is not feeling. Being emotional is feeling but not showing that you're feeling. At least that's how I've always viewed as emotion. But in losing these people who have been so close, it has been impossible in a lot of ways to separate emotion from loss. And one of the things that we've had to do, myself especially, is I've had to reteach myself the emotional side of death. Because when you look at it from an investigative lens, you take the emotion out. And doing so, and taking the time required to internally focus and do so, made us question everything about what we do and how we do it. And and as we start to get back into it, it's going to make us better going forward. We're going to take what we've learned and attempt to be better as we continue to move forward in this adventure. But it did get us thinking. Being a paranormal investigator influences your thoughts on loss for all the reasons I've previously stated. And I thought I knew how it would alter my perception. I really did. I thought it would. What does investigating the paranormal teach us? It teaches us several things. One, your body is merely a shell for who you are. It's what contains you. Death is not the end, because while the shell goes, what's inside the shell, there's still something there. There's something left of that person. And sometimes what's left of that person wants to talk. All of the thousands of hours of investigating we've done has shown us those things. That death is not an end. That death you can still communicate. People who are dead can still tell you something. A lot of times they have something to say, and if they have something to say, they'll let you know. And I thought knowing all that would help. I really did. But it didn't help as much as I thought. And I think that what I come to realize is one of the reasons we have, at least in the United States, I cannot speak to any other culture because I can't speak intelligently on it because I only know what I know. But at the same time, we do a lot of elaborate funeral things here. Viewings and wakes and the funeral and the all of it. And what I come to realize through all of it is, while all of those things, death is not an end, the body is a shell, there's still something left. The spirit goes on in some form because we've proven it through investigation. Doesn't help much with closure when you know all those things. The point of a funeral is not for the person who is deceased. The point of a funeral is for the living that continue to go on. It's for them. It's for them to get closure. It's for them to go through the stages of grief. It's for them to be human and feel, and it's okay to feel and get it out and say your goodbyes. And if you take in all those things I just said, closure is not really something that is possible if it keeps going. And that's really what I came to realize while all this was going on. Like, at the end of the day, investigating shows us so much about the body and the soul, if you want to call it a soul, whatever you believe goes on there, religion aside, doesn't matter. Something goes on. Whatever you want to call it is just semantics. But when you're trying to get over the death of a loved one and you're trying to say your goodbyes, it's not as comforting as I thought it would be. And I'm sure other folks who have done investigation have run into something like this or may have a different perspective. Please send us a message. Leave a comment. I want to know. Does being an investigator or does any experience you've had with the paranormal affect how you have felt about the field after that experience? Because having gone through that, and we've experienced death before, large family, but these were the first couple of deaths that were really close to home that we felt that have happened since we got into the field, and it was a jarring difference. And while I thought it would be a calming thing to know all this, it turned out to be slightly the opposite. So, having discovered this or having learned it, how does it change us? I mean, a lesson isn't a lesson unless it's a lesson learned, right? And as we've decided to dip our toes back into the water and to get back into this field that we have loved so much and it has been so good to us, this is going to change us going forward. And I think the thing that stays with me, at least, is that I don't want to lose the human element in these investigations. And I think that does get lost sometimes in the search for evidence, and not maliciously. There are paranormal groups that try maliciously to provoke and taunt. That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about we forget that all of these voices, all of these myths, these anomalies, most of them were people once. Their lives touched so many other lives. For all of those people who passed away, there were probably people like me, like my wife, like you, who were so close to them and felt that death and felt that loss so profoundly that it affected their entire life. The spiritual side has always been the focus, but I think this experience is going to help us and focus on the human side of it. We've always done it to an extent. Especially when we do residential investigations, but whenever we're doing an investigation where there are people who could be connected to the people that we're trying to communicate with, we always give the warning that, look, it's one thing to think they're talking to you. It's one thing to think that your uncle's tapping on the wall. It's something else to hear his voice answering your question. And you have to make sure that you are prepared for that moment, if that happens. It's a speech that we give to everyone that we do an investigation for that has those kind of personal, and it's happened sometimes. One of the reasons we didn't publish a recent 2 years ago, an investigation was that the family had us come back to a location and the family members who grew up in the house were there. And it became a really profound family thing, like tears and just really good healing, actually, for the people involved, from what I could tell. But we can't publish. We're not publishing that. That's not, you're not allowed, but also it's not professional to publish that. It's their emotion. It's their family. But there's a door that opens. And many people aren't ready for it. Thankfully, those folks were ready for it. In fact, that's why they actually flew out to be there, because they were so ready for it that they wanted it. But even though they were ready for it, nobody's ever really ready for it. But, and again, it's another thing. It's one thing to watch it on TV. But man, when you're in the middle of it, it's quite another when all this stuff becomes real. And one of the things that also I've always been disgusted by, and I've said this, I'm just as disgusted by it now as I was 18 months ago in our last episode, where people make YouTube videos trying to talk to people who have recently passed away that are celebrities, that they don't even know these people. Just the complete and shameless clickbaiting. Do not watch these. You're just encouraging these awful people to do these awful things. Like, they make all of the investigators out there who at least try to do it the right way. Because I'll never say our way is the right way. There's 10,000 groups doing it 10,000 ways. But we try to do it the right way. Right by the dead, and right by the living. And those people who do that stuff on YouTube are not doing right by anyone except themselves. I'm infuriated every time I see it. And having sort of discovered what I've discovered personally, and what we've all discovered in our group over the last 18 months, makes me even more disgusted by it. It's that human element. And going forward, having experienced what we have, we're going to take that more into account than we ever have before. Not that we've ever ignored it. Like I said before, it's not malicious. It's just sometimes in that hunt for the spiritual side, you forget that these were people mostly, and that they meant a lot to people that were profoundly affected when those spirits were no longer a part of their everyday life. It's a lesson that was a reminder mostly for us, because I like to think we've always been very respectful of both sides, but going forward, it's something we're absolutely going to be making sure we focus on more. So shifting back to us, again, I don't like to just talk about us on the podcast. I promise I will not do that much going forward. I usually like to focus on things that affect the whole field through our lens. But after all of that, losing people and locations, losing places and relationships with spirits that we have formed, I was done. I'm like, you know what? It's just too much. Too much loss, too much time and money invested in this wonderful, wonderful hobby of ours. And the fact that there was a waning interest. I don't know if how the TV shows are doing, but I don't see paranormal investigation and ghost hunting. I don't see it as much as the draw that it was. I don't see it. Like events and stuff that we would do for charity, like they would used to sell out in hours, and now they don't sell out. And I've actually talked to other people who do this. It's not just because, it's not because I'm, maybe we're not good at events. I don't know, but it's not just us. And that waning interest, and just overall tired of death in general. Just too much close to home, too much loss. I was done. I was ready to just say, you know what? It's been an awesome, at the time, 7 years. It's been a great run. We've met great people. Let's not lose contact with them. But maybe I'll clear up some room in my office and get rid of the 11 cases of paranormal equipment and free up some space. And I was serious. I was done. I really was. Emily, my wife, was not. She was not. She wanted to hold on. She wanted to see what we could still do, even if we did it minimally. She's the one who was monitoring the website, email. She would interact with people who emailed us. She also made sure I didn't get rid of any of the equipment, which takes up a ton of room. If you are an investigator or know someone who is scientific based, man, it's a lot of room. And it's not like you can just put it in the garage, because a lot of it is delicate, scientific, electronic, and you got to keep it dry. You got to keep it from it's expensive hobby. But she wouldn't let me give it up. She wouldn't. And that's kind of how it went. If you follow us on social media, Facebook, on Instagram or anything, you'll notice there wasn't much over the last year. We really did back away. And Emily was like, no, we're going to stay with it, because I think you'll come back to it. I think your passion will come back to it. So what brought me back? What brought this whole thing back? What brought the interest back? What brought the passion back? 2 cases. 2 things we investigated that brought me back. Both of them weirdly local. Our investigations, we've always joked that we're Orange County, New York Paranormal. We've done 1 investigation in Orange County, New York. we just have a tough time getting interest around here. But man, up in Schoharie County, up in Lyons, New York, up in Seneca Falls, man, we have done so much. And it's been great to spread our wings like that. But in our backyard, we haven't done much. But there were 2 cases that Emily talked me into doing. One of them was in Pine Bush, New York. It was a residential investigation, so everyone shall remain nameless. But we investigated a private residence, and they had a myriad of everything going on. If you were to do, here's the checkbox of paranormal activity outside of even spiritual, they have it all. There's reports of like extraterrestrial, like everything that could possibly happen. And we went in and I said, look, I'm not an expert on anything outside of what I know, which is paranormal, spiritual, communicating with spirits. And so we couldn't help them with everything, but what they wanted was, they asked us, they said, help us with this part of it. So we did. We did, and we went, and it was a fun, interesting investigation. But they were great people, and when we revealed the evidence, it was validating to them. They were like, okay, we're not crazy. The other one, we actually just recently published, Planet Health, which is a food packaging company in Port Jervis, New York. Another case that just, people who work in the factory, seeing things, experiencing things they could not explain. And I mean, everything from coworkers who had passed away to potential spirits of people who lived on the land. I mean, that factory's only been there since mid 60s, and I think it was 80s actually. But they didn't know where to start. Like, they'd had things, they'd heard things, they'd thought they saw things and heard things. So they reached out to us. We went in. Really cool location. We actually caught some really good evidence. You can go on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page. Check that video out. We just published that a couple weeks ago. And again, we reviewed what we found to them. And in both instances, just the validation and the feeling of relief and the feeling of, wow, we're not crazy. Okay, what do we do next? We knew nothing. Now we know something. And to work with people who cared that much and who wanted to, who don't want it to go away. They want to understand it. They want to know it. And for them to look at us and for us to be that sort of conduit, that liaison with the equipment, with the style, with everything that we do. That's what it's about. That's what it's about. And as I said before, it's about the living. And it wasn't, in the end of the day, it's, with these two cases especially, it wasn't the spirits that brought me back. It was the living. It was the people who brought us in, the living people whose lives these impact and who were made to feel better and made to feel validated by what we were able to discover and show them through our methodology and our equipment and our styles. And that's what brought me back. And that's why I'm sitting here in front of a microphone right now recording a podcast episode that I haven't done in 18 months. I don't know what the frequency of these episodes is going to be. But I'm back on the horse. I want to start doing this again, and that's the key. We wanted to start again. To do this properly, you have to be all in. You can't do it halfway. There's just too much work. And these two cases and the wonderful people involved in these two cases, along with Emily just never giving up and never saying, no, you're not done, something will bring you back, for her knowing me well enough to know. That's why I'm sitting here now, and that's why we continue to move forward. So, taking a very inwardly focused episode, and I apologize again for that, but I wanted you all to understand why it's been so long and why I'm sitting here now talking to you. And I think the message of all of this is, it's this whole experience, and it's something I think we all knew, but it never hurts to be reminded of it, that it's not about investigating. It's about life itself. There's struggle, there's loss, there's challenges. And there will be times when your passion for something or everything will start to flicker. But given the right circumstances and the right people around you, which is so vital in everything in life, when the time feels right, you can always come back. It's never too late to come back to the people, the places, or the things you love. And I think that, and at the end of the day, that's the lesson. So, we are back. Will it look different than it once did? I have no idea. Will it feel like it did before? I don't know that either. What I do know, though, is through the life lessons, the wins, the losses, we will carry on differently than we did before, better than we did before. You live, you learn, and there's nothing more normal than that. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you next time on the Paranormal Podcast.